Welcome to the Oh Hell No podcast, where Kay Nicole delivers a daily dose of inspiration by discussing passion, purpose, and struggle with people who are living their best life doing what they love. Here's Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Tonight we have Craig Sroda. He is an entrepreneur and an author. Welcome, Craig.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm happy to have you. So, you are CEO and acting ERP director of the Pinnacle Group of Indiana. Is that correct?
Well, I sold that one about 6 years ago, and I'm the president of a company called Liebermuth right now.
Wow, look at that. So when did you decide you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I started that technology company when I was 28, but I always had businesses going and had a little hustle to me. But that's it's kind of was one of those things that, survival and hard work was something that was always part of my upbringing, and just started put myself through school and started a company.
That is awesome. So you've always loved technology.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I'm a mechanic at heart. I thought I was going to be an auto mechanic, and then the mechanics of computer programming, accounting, technology, all kind of just fell into place for me around my skills and my strengths.
Nice. So what would you say was the hardest part of getting started as an entrepreneur?
People. Understanding the different types of people there are in the world and how to interact with them. I had some hard knocks there, learning, growing it up, hiring and people, and not understanding the hiring process. It's almost like when you just start learning about leadership, because as you grow up, you get management, but leadership's a whole new ball game, and that kind of led me into this whole life planning and understanding people but that was the hardest part, I think, is, managing the different personality types.
Yeah. So what would you say you love the most about being an entrepreneur?
Oh, I love to see people grow, and I love to see companies grow with what I brought to them.
Oh, okay. I like that. So when did you realize that you were going to be okay as an entrepreneur? Because as when you start a business and, you have your ups and downs, but what happened that made you feel like, you know what, I'm good. I can do this. Like, this is going to work out for me.
I don't know. Are you ever okay with it? I guess, it's, I was okay with the risk. I don't live in fear, and I figure, hey, if we lose everything, we just keep going, and it was meant to be. So I just, once I saw a few successes, I'm like, you know what, let's just keep going.
Wow, that's pretty cool. All right. So how did you discover that you had the ability to write these amazing books? Because you've written a couple of books, and we're going to talk about specifically The Ultimate Manual, The Missing Guide to Living a Meaningful Life. That's the book we're talking about tonight. But I wanted to know, when you realized that you were an author and you could, put these great books together for people that could help them with their lives.
Well, I owned that technology company for, 18 years. And, I learned a lot about managing people, leading people, the different types of people, because in that technology company, I had an accounting division that implemented accounting systems, which is accountants are wired one way. I had IT talent, and they're wired one way. And then I had developers that wrote custom code, and they were wired a different way. And, I really enjoyed getting to understand how people tick and how to help them be better. And so, long and short of that, I'm a forever learner. I love learning. And I ran across this ebook, just a real simple life plan, life checkup thing. And I'm like, wow, this sounds interesting. I haven't read anything like this. So I kind of locked up on a weekend, and I did my own life plan in a rough way. And I came out of my home office, and I told my wife, we got to sell the business, because basically when you do a life plan, you reconcile your actions with your priorities. So you go through your priorities, and if I'm not living my life to what I'm saying my priorities are, you need to make a change. So, I started mentoring people and kids, and I have 3 daughters, and I started getting a lot of fulfillment by mentoring these people, letting them see their strengths, letting them see their gifts that they been blessed with. And out of necessity, I wrote the first book. And the second book, You in the Sweet Spot, was really because I couldn't reach as many people as I wanted. I was running out of time, and I wanted to spend time with my daughters and my wife, but I still had this desire to mentor and help people be more self-aware, and I think that's the best gift you can give anybody, is the gift of self-awareness. So out of necessity, I wrote the first one, and the second one came along, and then really this third one was really about reaching the masses. So I started enjoying it more on the second book because I started seeing traction. Like anything, you got to try it, and you got to push through the first uncomfortable one, which was my first one. It was an okay book. Second one was a lot better, and I think this one really hits home with the 1-page life plan that I put together and I developed.
Wow. Okay. So, when did you first become self-aware?
When I always start doing some of these business assessments, like the DISC assessment, the Myers-Briggs, and so I started doing that, and then I started toying around with it more towards the end of my career at Pinnacle when I owned that company, and then I just kept digging more about me. I did the Strength Finders book, so I started all my continuous learning was all around introflexion, and so I just got more and more self-aware, and I kept doing it. I found out about the love language, which was a really, really cool book, and found out I didn't have that right for the first 10 years of my marriage. So after I found that out, that helped our marriage go to the next level, which is really cool. But it was right when at the tail end of selling the company, when I really wanted to help others, and then it made me make sure I really understood what I wanted to do and what I was talking to people about. So my wife and I went and got life planning certified, and that really just sealed the deal for me from that interflexion and helping others out.
Yeah, that love language book is good. Yeah. So if you had to explain to the listeners what being self-aware is, what would you say? If
self-aware is knowing your natural strengths, how you were wired, and then how you're going to react and respond to certain things. Emotional intelligence is a great one too. Self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. When you get to knowing that level of yourself, it's a really great thing. But I think we're always on the quest to learn more about ourselves, or we should be, because the more you know about yourself, the more you can interact with others. You can be happier in your career because you're balancing out all the 5 domains of your life. Work isn't your life. You got your personal life, you got your family, you have your community, you got your faith or belief system. So you don't let the job own you, but you can be way more fulfilled because you're more aware of yourself and how the balance of these strengths go across all the domains of life.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So, the biggest regret in life is when people don't do what they wanted to do and they do what everyone else tells them to do, right?
Correct.
So, let me say, how do you navigate this slippery slope when you have overbearing parents and you're still young, trying to figure yourself out? But you have someone pushing you and saying, you should do this. I think you need to do this. You better do this. What advice would you give to, people who are kind of struggling with that? And I do this a lot. So that's a cool question. That 16 personalities assessment that I have in the book, and I don't know if you saw that or not, but it's 16personalities.com. Mm-hmm. It's a modern day Myers-Briggs. But I point people towards that direction, because when parents are saying, go to college, do this, those are hunches.
but it's not affirmation of how that person is wired. I've seen, kids, my daughter's friends, their dads are lawyers. They think they want to be a lawyer. I'm like, well, why don't you find out how you're wired? Because that might not be the best fit for you. So, doing that personalities gives people affirmation. It gives them strength. It gives them confidence to say, no, I want to go this way, but it also gives them the tools to talk to their parents or friends or whoever's influencing them and say, look, no, this is how I am wired. This is where I'm going to be in my sweet spot. It's going to where my strengths and my passions align. So otherwise it's just like, it's thoughts, it's feelings, it's history of their parents or history of somebody else. And I've seen that play out over and over again. It's the old doctors, kids are doctors because their dad was a doctor and they're miserable. They weren't wired or weren't able to affirm how they were wired. And the simple 60 personalities, I use this a ton just to help navigate that, from kids going to, what should I do in college? What my career should be? This really gives them the tools and affirmation to go after something that I think is going to be more fulfilling for them, and they'll just be happier in life.
Yeah, I think that's amazing because I have to say, I interview quite a few people who, parents wanted them to do a certain thing and they totally decided to do something different and something that made them happy, and they're better off for it. And I've even interviewed people who went the way that, they were pushed to go into and they hated it and eventually found their passion and their true love. So that's amazing that, you have this assessment that can, help people kind of figure out a little bit more about themselves.
Sure.
So decide now to live with intention. What is your explanation of living with intention? What would you say that is?
Well, it's, after yourself, how your natural wiring, which is kind of the first part of my book, is get to know you, make sure you really understand you. And then if you work through the workbook, because it's actually a workbook, it's not a book you read and do nothing with. I actually want people to do something and act, because I think the ripple effect in the world will be big because people will just be generally happier. But when you work through this, I walk people through, understanding what core values are, but also what is their purpose in life? What's their why? What's their mission? And then how do they want to be remembered? And the hard one that was really hard for me to work into this one-page life plan was the write your eulogy across each of the domains of your life.
I love that. That was like my last question. I think that's amazing. I read your blog post on that. Mm-hmm. That is so good.
Yeah, it was, it took me like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months to create this one-page plan. I had a lot of there, and there's this missing piece, and I kept, pushing around thinking about it, and then boom, I listened to a faith-based podcast, and it talked about that. I'm like, crap, that's what I'm missing, and it's across each domain, because then as you're planning your 10-year goals, you're going to make sure you look back in the acid test as the eulogy. Is your 10-year goals going to be how you're going to be remembered? And then you back into your year goals and your quarterly goals. So it kind of keeps you on track from a long and then a short and then a quarterly perspective. So what you're doing today is in line with where you're going and how you want to be remembered. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's really helped a lot of people that I've been around and mentored, and I think it could just help people be happier all around.
Yeah, I'm definitely buying this book for my friend because she is struggling with trying to figure out where she wants to go in her life, and she doesn't know where to start. So I think this will be a really good book for her to have. So thank you, Craig.
Oh, you're welcome. I love this. My mission in life, and you can see it in my one-page life plan, because I'm pretty transparent about it, is to help others be better than they thought they could be. And that's kind of my ministry or my mission in life. And I think everybody can. It's just sometimes they just don't have the tools or the encouragement or the people around them.
Right. Yes. And I love that. I love that you're doing this, because this is why I started this podcast, because I myself was feeling like there has to be more for my life. Like God does not just want me to get up every day and go to my IT project management job and that's it. Like there has to be something else he has me to do. So I started this podcast to kind of like try to talk myself through it and figure it out. So it's amazing that I get to, talk to someone like you today about what you're doing and how you're helping people figure out this very same thing.
Well, thanks for starting your podcast too, because people like you and me and whatever, we want to make the world a better place, and it starts like this, you know?
Absolutely. So understanding your strengths and passion, tell us how these two things align, strengths and passions.
Well, I refer to it as the sweet spot, and it's understanding all your strengths, and then you think about, you go through the process. How do you want to be remembered? What gets you up out of bed? I have some warm up exercises. What are you going to stand for? What's your core values, and what's going to keep you on track? And I call that the replenishment cycle. And if you know your strengths and you really understand your passion, which can change over time, but if you keep that aligned and you operate where those two intersect, you're just going to be super productive and super fulfilled, and grateful. Being grateful about life is a fulfilling aspect, but it's taking care of you so you can be in that spot. So I just refer to it as a sweet spot. I think a lot of people do, but I'm about getting people there, which is really, really understanding those strengths. And then, what gets you out of bed, and you got to continue to acid test yourself every quarter. Am I still going after this job or this part of my life and being really passionate about it? And if not, then you need to acid test yourself or have great friends around you kind of question you. And so you just want to keep that passion burning and make sure it's aligned with your strengths, because it'll naturally work instead of forcing it to work.
What do you have to say about weaknesses? Because I always hate when you go on a job interview and they say, tell us, what's your weakness?
We all have them. Just make sure they're covered. Make sure you're aware of them. Yeah. Don't try, you never try to fix them, because capitalize on your strengths, but make sure your weaknesses are covered so you just don't get knocked down, and you'll get way more done capitalizing on your strengths and your passion. Yeah. And my thing is just be aware of them.
Yeah. So trigger words, tell us about trigger words and how this plays a part in helping us live more intentionally.
Well, you should have one or two trigger words. Mine's respect. So for example, if I am being disrespectful to someone, it triggers me to stop. I'm like, something's wrong here, because that's not who I want to be. That's not my intention. It's not aligned with my life plan, my purpose, my values. So it just triggers me to stop and pause. And then if I'm in the adverse, if I'm being disrespected, I stop too. And I'm like, oh, either they're not understanding me, something's aligned, and then we just take a timeout, pause. So it's something to pause. And actually what you're doing is you're creating new neural pathways in your brain, and you're making yourself respond differently versus react. And I had to work hard on that when I was, when I started that company. Obviously a young entrepreneur, CEO, aggressive, and I kind of, I had some ego problem. Yeah, you're a little ego, you're a little cocky, a little confident, but I didn't want to be that person. So I really had to stop and pause, because and make sure I'm treating people with respect. So pausing those reactions will make you create neural pathways, because then you just respond with ease. And everybody should have a couple trigger words, and what sets you off. How, and a trigger word is meant to trigger you to live what you said on your one-page life plan and how you want to live.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about ego. Where does ego fit into all of this?
I'm ego hypersensitive now. So, if I see people with ego, I talk about it. I'm like, man, or I don't really hang around with people that have egos. Ego is, I think the best leaders are humble, hungry, and smart. but humbleness is a key, and ego doesn't align with being humble. I'm okay with confidence, with respect, but when you get cocky and ego come into play, it really doesn't work in this. Because the best leaders are confident and they're building other people along the way with them. Not, ego is typically, it's more of a self-centered trait. So I don't think it fits with this. I don't know if there's a lot of ego people that are going to do this whole life plan to where they're giving back.
Yeah. So it's like you got to get that ego under control, kind of check yourself before you can start to do the work to put you on this path.
Yeah, you got to be okay with giving. And, not just money. It's giving your time, humbling down. And again, I don't know if there's a ton of happy ego people out there in the world.
Yeah, absolutely not. They think they're happy.
Yeah.
So what are blind spots?
We all have them. I feel it's about 30%, I tell everybody, even at my current job, I'm the president of this company, and I tell everybody, if you see me going down a wrong path, cover my blind spot. Tell me, don't let me do that. And it's people around you. It's just stuff you don't see. When I do this life plan, I'm like, I sat down with my wife, I sat down with a good friend of mine, an accountability partner. I'm like, what am I not seeing here? Cover my blind spots. And certainly there were, did you think about this? Did you think about this? I don't think that's true about you. And it's people that you trust, and they can be straight shooting with you to really cover your blind spots. Because when you think you know it all, that's danger zone.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the best way to find an accountability partner?
Well, you just got to look at your immediate network, and you look, and if you have to create a list, do it. But who would you be? Who can you be vulnerable with? Who can you trust to give you candid, real feedback? And you not get defensive, but you'll take it and you'll listen to them. Somebody you trust. So if you got to find that. If it's not in your immediate network, then you kind of got to stretch out of that and start looking for somebody that you look up to. You like how they're living their life. And a lot of people, if you ask them to be, not really a mentor, because you don't want to have people on the hook, but somebody just to, maybe quarterly, hey, look at my life plan with me. Help, am I being true to what I said on this paper? And they could be, just call you out. It's like, man, you aren't working out every day. You're not, you're not dieting well. You're not going after your goals. Somebody that's just going to call you out. So you got to look in your immediate network, and usually there's somebody there. And then if not, you got to just expand it a little bit and start looking for people that you look up to.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a good accountability partner.
It's good for everybody to have one, because temptation, getting off track, we're in the world, right? So we need people that are going to help be helpful for us to help keep us on track.
Yeah, absolutely. So how would you define success? Like, what does it mean to you personally?
Personally?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not money. It's being grateful every day, having time with my wife of 26 years, having time and influencing my daughter and now a granddaughter in the play. And, the thing is, success, what I challenge myself with all the time is look out 10, 20 years and what's going to matter.
Yeah.
It's the people you influence and the people that carry on good things that raise the bar in the world, not lower the bar. And if I can have, besides having a great family life and trying to be the best person I can be, if I can have 100,000 people do life plans by 2025, I'd consider that a huge success, because the ripple effect in the world would be great, because you'd be happy as a person, you'd be happy in your job, you'd go home happy to your family, then it'd ripple into the community, and that would make me have a feeling of success.
And what do you think was key in you getting to the place where you feel like you're living a successful life? Was it when you became self-aware? Was it when you did a life plan? Like, what do you think was the key thing? Or what do you think was a combination of things?
Those two things you just said, absolutely. The life plan really opened my eyes up, and just I thought I was going to run that business forever. We were doing well, and I'm like, but the cloud came on, and it was going to change all revenue streams and all that stuff. And I was going to take another hard run, and at the stake of not being home, not having time with my kids, because, when I started a company, I had to work a lot, and I didn't want to lose more time with my family. So the life plan really opened my eyes and made me more self-aware. And then I continued to go down that self-aware path. And that was really, those were two key points if I could point to anything.
So I know that you've kind of stated this, but I have to ask it just because some people might not be clear. What is the one thing that you want readers to take from your book? If they get nothing else from this book, what's the one thing you want them to understand?
Themselves, nice. Self-aware. And then if they could just understand themselves, how they interact with others, how they fit in the world, how they can be the strongest person they can be, that self-awareness is the one.
Yeah, it definitely is. So purpose work. Do you feel like you're doing your purpose work? And if you do, which I'm pretty sure you are, what exactly would you identify as being your purpose work?
This is my purpose work, right? This is kind of like the ministry side of my life. Even at my, I have this company I'm helping run, and I take all this stuff and I take it in there. I help people be more self-aware. I have them do these assessments. I've been shifting their seats. Jim Collins talks about get people on the right seats on the bus. Once they become self-aware, then we get them in the right role. So I shift people around because generally people are good. They just don't know where they could be the happiest, right? So that and my purpose work is just, I really want people to do life plans and live intentional.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that is amazing. Whoever works with Craig, for Craig, like, you are in the sweet spot, because it's amazing to have someone at work that wants to see you succeed and do well and wants to get you into the right place and the right positions so that you flourish and live to your life's potential. Like, that is amazing. That's what everybody really wants. And it's so hard when you get out into that working world and you're confused. You don't know what you're good at or what you're supposed to be doing. And then you have a leader that doesn't know what they're doing. And, it just makes it like the whole work experience very negative. So I love that you're bringing that into your workplace, and, that you really want to see people live intentional lives and do well. I think that's amazing.
It's fun to see people flourish. You see where they're kind of just going through the work, and when you turn on their light bulb, wow, it's really, really cool to see.
Yeah, it really is, because I've been on the side where, you work with these people who you're like, how did they become a manager? Like, geez.
Yeah, the people skills are kind of lacking. And
right.
That thing, right. Yeah. Culture matters a ton. And when they asked me to help run this company, I said, you know what, we're going to raise the bars of truth, clarity, and trust. And then culture and teamwork will come. But we're going to start getting clear on where we're going, your roles, and then truth and trust. It's just, we got to get that right. Yeah. And it's been working, and it's pretty cool.
That is amazing. So this is the Oh Hell No podcast, and Oh Hell No podcast is just because, in life we have a lot of oh hell no moments where we're just kind of like, ooh, did that just happen? Or, what's going on here? So I like to have my guests share an oh hell no moment where they either learned a life lesson or they had a oh hell no moment that changed their perspective on something. So I'd love for you to share one of those moments with us.
Let me think. There's so many. Oh hell no. I guess Is it supposed to be in a bad or a positive way?
It could be either, like some oh hell no moments can be like a positive thing, like where you're like, oh hell no, I didn't know this was going to happen today. Like, wow, or whatever. I mean, it's just a moment where we learn, grow, and we just got to push through those moments. So whatever. This year, I'm asking people to share moments where they learned something that they took, like from that moment, they were like, never again, or I learned from that, or something where you're like, wow, this happened and it really changed the way I thought about this or that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, thanks for explaining that. You know what I'm thinking about right now that really did happen was when after I got out of college, because I put myself through college, and I worked at one of the big one of the big accounting firms, and I helped them design a fixed asset depreciation package because I had accounting and technology, and all the big firms started using it, and and I did support. I started out in support, then design, and really we grew it up really, really big. And then one of the big competitors bought it, and they said, well, it was kind, but they said you could still have a job. Let's get you in a different role, but you got to write the conversion program to our competitors. And then that was a big oh hell no, because I'm like, oh, so I poured out everything I got, and I'm getting a thank you, no money or anything, but a thank you, and I still get to have a job. And I think that turned me into into wanting to be more of an entrepreneur. Actually, I haven't thought about that. That's weird because that's not even in my turning points, but it's oh hell no, you sold that for millions and I didn't get anything.
Wow.
It's and I had to write the program, but it was that's a oh hell no for me for sure.
Yeah, that's a major oh hell no moment. But I mean, look what it sparked,
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the cool part about it. Well, Craig, it was such a pleasure having you on the podcast. Please tell everyone where they can buy your book and where they can keep up with all things Craig.
Well, I have my blog site that I do weekly posts on at craigsroda.com, and that's CRAIGSRODA.com. And if you want to look at my book, review the book, it's on theultimatemanual.com. It's on Amazon. And on that site, I have all the tools. You can download the Word templates of the one-page life plan, and you can do multiple copies of that as you're working through the workbook. And I'm going to be coming out with a YouTube series on walking people through the book. So that should be coming out in the next month or so. But yeah, those two sites, I encourage people on my craigsroda.com blog site, and it's around this. It's about being intentional. And the book site, again, is theultimatemanual.com, and there's tons of tools out there, and I'm going to continue to put more out there.
Nice. So I've been doing like book giveaways. So I am going to purchase this book and give it away to one of my listeners because I really think that you guys should have this book as well. So I'll be doing that when this episode goes live. So guys, just check my Instagram so that you can enter to win The Ultimate Manual, The Missing Guide to Living a Meaningful Life.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show.